DNA damage has our epigenetic fixed teams to go and fix other things, and the cell, if it doesn't have the fixed team here, becomes a senescent cell, and then that cell causes inflammation, and that inflammation actually ages us. And it's all different. How we age is different because we have certain genes and we have certain exposure to different things, so that each of us are impacted differently by these different factors because of our bio-individuality.
Ayse has been in the healthcare business for the last 25 years. She runs an organization in London called Paar London. It's a clinic, right, Ayse?
Yes, it is a clinic in person, and we also have a remote clinic.
Yes. So, and at that clinic, she does personalized testing for longevity and rejuvenation. She has access to amazing therapists. She's access to amazing tests as well. I'm very excited about this topic because there is so much information, and every day there's so much new developments in the field of longevity, and it's all quite confusing for us laymen. Yeah. So Ayse, without much ado, I want you to tell us, what is longevity? What is the science of longevity?
Okay. In my perspective, the science of longevity is understanding the aging process and finding out ways to interfere, to slow down, stop or reverse aging so we can stay younger for many more years. So interesting is aging is a complex thing, and we all age in so many different ways. And I think another interesting factor is there's no aging gene. Then what is happening there? Why are we still getting older if we don't have the aging gene? So what's happening is we age because of the damage we cause to our genes. And what causes damage to our genes is stress, pollution, processed food, heavy metal toxins, animal proteins, bacteria, virus, food intolerances, radiation. So even, sunburn, acidity in our body, even the natural process of our DNA replicating causes DNA damage. Okay. So, but then one would say, okay, then is this unavoidable, because our own, but it is avoidable because on top of our genes, there's a team of epigenetics team, which they fix all the DNA damage or in the cell. So as long as they're sitting on top of the cell, they make the cell function, properly. So if the epigenetic fixed team didn't leave the cell, we probably would live forever. So because what happens is when they leave the cell to go and fix DNA damage, that's when the cell becomes inconsistent, there's chaos. And eventually, if there's a lot of DNA damage, what I talked about before, then the epigenetic fixed team never can return to the cell. And when they don't return to the cell becomes senescent, a zombie cell, which means
it becomes senescent. Yeah, explain that, because that's a word that floats around a lot.
Okay, so a senescent cell is a zombie cell, and it's not functioning, it's not dividing, it's not mutating, but it's still alive. And what it does is it secretes cytokines, which create inflammation. So that's what really ages us. So these cells that are zombie cells, senescent cells, that are, they should be dead, but they don't, and they continue to harm us through releasing the cytokines that cause inflammation. DNA damage has our epigenetic fixed teams to go and fix other things, and the cell, if it doesn't have the fixed team here, becomes a senescent cell, and then that cell causes inflammation, and that inflammation actually ages us. And it's all different. How we age is different because we have certain genes and we have certain exposure to different things, so that each of us are impacted differently by these different factors because of our bio-individuality.
So it's very closely connected to genetics, even though we don't have an aging gene.
Connected to genetics, yes, exactly, but in the form of also epigenetics, which we can actually change through our lifestyle. So our epigenes tell our biological age, which is our real age, not the chronological age, but biologically how fast are we aging, because where our epigenes are, how they're functioning, we can tell that. So
Okay.
therefore, that's what's really important.
So, on the basis of what you've just explained to us, can you tell us how long do you think our generation is expected to live with all the medical advances that
Right.
have happened?
If I think 8 to 10 years ago, the estimated average age for a civilized nation like US was about 79 years old. Relatively long time, but still not close to the
Right.
oldest human on record, which is a French woman.
Mm-hmm.
Jeanne Calment is the name, and
Right.
she lived until 122 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, she died in August 1997.
Right.
So therefore, as far as we know, the limit, the longest living human being is a woman who lived till 122. So
But of
one
course,
say, yeah, that's our limit. Other scientists conclude that there's a natural limit to human lifespan of 115 years of old. And there's another school of thought which says that there is no limit to human longevity. So it's
okay.
still a, interesting topic that's being debated, I would say. But as a fact, we know that someone lived till 122.
But for our generation, do you
Mm-hmm.
think 79 is still what is expected?
No, I do think that 79 was about 10 years ago. So
Okay.
that has, expanded. And then also I would say it differs from individual to individual. It differs from how genetically, predisposed we are to certain diseases, and
Mm-hmm.
how we live our lives, and how whether we address what's aging us or not is a very important factor. Because
Okay.
it's not a general concept of eat broccoli and you'll stay younger. No, that's not true. So I think there are many different factors, so addressing those would help. I mean, next generation, their lifespan, actually, Aubrey de Grey, a scientist, he predicts that the average age of a human being born at the end of the century will be about 5,000 years.
End of this century.
Yes, correct. With
Whoa.
advances, that's what he predicts that it will be.
What do you think are the latest, or what have you heard are the latest innovations that have been made in this field of longevity? And why is it that you're saying that, it's exponentially growing, our age?
So I see this as a three-step approach. The
Mm-hmm.
first step I see is, the advances around optimizing our own biology, what we
Okay.
have today.
Okay.
Even what we do at Paar, as you have summarized, through different latest technology and methods, we're able to assess bio-individuality. So
Right.
therefore, things that we didn't know before, now we can know at the individual level. Bio-individuality is that all of us are made different. We have a metabolism that works different. We have genes that are different. We live in environments that are different from each other. We think differently. We relax different. We
Right.
accumulate different toxins. And so therefore, aging for all of us is an individual process. It's not the same. That's why, it's important to look at every individual's bio-individuality and assess what's aging you, what's aging me. And we have
Mm-hmm.
this technology and different methods to look at that now. The Human Genome Project has opened, I think, broad horizons for looking at the genome of, the individual, the microbiome, on the metabolic side, many
Will
different.
you explain genome? Will you explain microbiome, please?
Sure. The human genome is our genes, the proteins that tell our body to be structured, made a certain way. It would be a very, I think, simplistic explanation of it. And then the microbiome is actually our gut, and the flora of its gut, and it's actually 3 to 5 kilos of bacteria reside there. And their genome also impacts us. So it's a complex yet beautifully functioning mechanism. It's important to understand that. And it's important to understand what are the key things that we should prioritize as an individual, because there are so many things to do. Like you said, we're reading, hearing all sorts of things
Yes.
with
Yes.
hundreds of experts. Everybody says, this is the way to approach it. But I think the most important thing is understanding yourself and then designing certain things to your lifestyle which are really going to help you. So I would say that there is a lot of innovation in that field. And once
Right.
we understand our bioindividuality, then we can figure out what to eat, what vitamins, what what supplements we may be needing, because if we're missing them, it's an important thing. What toxins we've accumulated, we need to get rid of. How sleep is affecting us, how we should be sleeping, how we should be relaxing, our exercise, our energy, overall management of our energy. And finally, I would say also our purpose in life. That's also very important. So once understanding the individual, then designing certain things, with these personalized ways, I think is a new innovative way of approaching longevity. If we need to fix our microbiome, if it's not balanced, or if we have parasites, or if we have accumulated so many toxins, or if we have some key vitamins and minerals missing, then I don't see the point of going to the next level. But if these are addressed, then I think it would be, best thing is to go to the next level, which is, the innovations that,
The innovations.
about, the metformin.
Isn't it used for diabetes?
It is. It increases cell sensitivity for insulin, which is a hormone that takes up sugar from blood. And it's well studied, and it's millions of people used it. Now we're seeing that people who use it have less incidences of cancer, cardiovascular disease. So it's being studied now. We will see more results. It's on its longevity. There is resveratrol. You also pointed out in your message,
which is there in red wine.
Red wine thing. I mean, it's data hasn't really supported everything about it. But then, along with it, rapamycin is also another similar molecule to it. And these two actually make body mimic calorie restriction, have the beneficial effects of calorie restriction on the body, which is proven to extend life. So we also have NAD infusions, a different way. It helps repair damage, repair our cells, effects of oxidation in our body. There's data, there's research going on. There's parabiosis, which is you're getting young blood. So optimizing our biology, which is first understanding what's aging us and doing taking the personalized steps. So which is the first thing to do. After optimizing our biology, it's reprogramming biology. So this is there's a lot of research going on here, and with many positive results. This is reprogramming the information, the processes of our body. One way of doing this is the stem cell therapies. Right. So a stem cell is what is a stem cell? It's a universal cell, which means it can be turned to any organ, any tissue that needs repair. Stem cell therapies, there are two things. One is the stem cells go to where they need to go, to repair. Right. And they also do the job of repairing when they go there.
Of repairing.
But there are successful research happening. And now they're, rebuilding heart muscle, they're rebuilding bones and extending healthy life. So there's a lot of, I think, on the reprogramming side, a lot is going on. So, and also the RNA interference, which is turning off genes. So there are some harmful genes that we have, and they have been identified. So there's a lot of research going on how we can turn off those genes so they don't express themselves. Even if we, have the DNA damage, we don't get them to express.
So you mean we have a cancer gene in us? You can turn it off, or we have a predisposition to diabetes.
Exactly. So, and the last one I would say is replacing our biology with better technology. Nanotechnology revolution, where we will go beyond the limits of our biology and live very, very, very long. So submicroscopic nanotech circulate through our bloodstream, very small. I mean, it's can't seen with eye, performing the function of natural cell tissues, only with more precision and reliability. So, for example, nanorobots in our bloodstream keep exactly the right amount of nutrients, hormones, other substances. At the same time, they get rid of the toxins, bacteria, cancer cells, and keep everyone healthy. There are some conceptual nanorobots to replace blood cells, white blood cells, red blood cells, and do the job 1,000 times more effective than our own blood cells.
Is this all in the research stage, or is this actually being used practically?
No. This is in research stage. They still have another, I think, probably 10, 15 years to come, or 15, 20 years to come, I would say. But a team in Harvard actually already developed a nanosensor that can go into the body and test body fluid to detect infection, cancer, defects, and etc. So there is a lot happening actually in the field. That's why it's important to optimize our biology so that we benefit from
all the other development. But tell me today, what can we do to keep ourselves younger for longer? All this is in the research stage. We don't know when it will come to us, when it will be affordable to the average person to access. So what would you recommend today?
I would say that, knowing what's aging you, addressing that, then the general things that I do, that I would say, after the more personal things that I would do, I would say eat less, skip a meal, minimize animal protein, because that also causes DNA damage. Eating fresh, local, seasonal, organic vegetables and fruits, because if, this is, helping us, also causing less DNA damage. Ensuring that our body has the right minerals and the vitamins that it needs. So that's also important. Detoxing the heavy metals that you've accumulated is important. Minimizing the electromagnetic pollution, the use of the cellular phones. After this program, we should stop the use of it for a while. So certainly that's important. Exercising at least 30 minutes a day. And one other interesting is staying on the cool side, keeping the rooms that we sleep cooler, not warm. That's also keeping our genes young. Relaxing the mind, taking care of our energy, thinking about it and taking care of it. Sleeping 6 to 8 hours a day, no matter what anybody says, I still think that that's critical. Knowing your purpose and, living joyfully, enjoying life, definitely, I would say are the key things to stay younger for longer.
So some of us have had crazy lives, right? How can we reverse that? Because I know you deal with rejuvenation as well.
So I think, again, the same concept, the same principles will hold. Understanding where you are, understanding where you are genetically, metabolically, where you're epigenetically. So all of that, and then addressing them. It doesn't have to be in one day, all of it at the same time. It's slowly introducing that would work for you will make a big difference. It's like the ship. You change a little bit, and then after 24 hours you end up in a very different place. So no matter what damage you have caused to your body, I think it's still possible to reverse it, to stop it, slow down, and reverse it. With this, I think it's possible, and it's a lot of things coming as well in addition to that.
What's the best place to get individual genetic testing done? Is it still an experimental stage?
At Paar, what we do is we personalize all the work with the top genetic research around the world, the companies that do it. So certainly this is something that depending on what you want to test, do you want to get your full genome, or do you want to look at your epigenetics, or do you want to look at your predisposition to different diseases, or do you want to look at your nutritional traits, other traits that are important for your health? So there are many different things. I think it would be important to understand what the objective is. Then, guiding would be easier after that.
So if people are worried about a particular illness or a disease, which maybe have been there in their family, or if that they have had it, of it coming back, or their children getting it, what test would you suggest?
Genetic predisposition to diseases test.
Genetic predisposition
to disease. So that test would tell what diseases they are predisposed to, what inherited genetic conditions they may have, as well as some important genetic traits, as well as if they were to get sick, how they would respond to certain drugs.
Metformin, because we mentioned it, and like I said, it's so controversial. Do you want to just talk about that quickly?
Metformin has been in the market and being used, approved by FDA since 1994. And it's available in many different countries. I have not heard it was banned, but it is, as I said, increases this insulin sensitivity of the cell, and which is, insulin that helps the body detect sugar from blood. So it is helpful in that sense, but it has been used in millions of people. People using it have less of a cancer detected in them, less cardiovascular disease, and significant improvement in their diabetes, different biomarkers. I don't
Right.
think metformin or any other drug is good for everybody. So
Right.
it needs to be individual of an individual. So if there is a problem with the kidney, or if there's something else going on, it may not be good for you. I'm just referring to some of the studies that were done.
What do you think about collagen?
I mean, it seems to do well for the skin, but I haven't read any specific research on the impact of collagen on longevity for any other thing than the skin. I'm not aware of anything.
You were talking about some way that they put back blood?
Parabiosis. They've done animal studies, and it shows that they basically young blood from young mice, when put into older mice, regenerates. So, and now they're doing, is the human studies, but I do know that some people have tried it, so they're trying it. It seems to, the animal model seems to also help rejuvenation.
Thank you so much
Sure.
for clarifying
Absolutely.
things for us today.
Of course, with pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this chat. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this page. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify, Wellness Curated, and follow us on Instagram, Wellness Curated, the number 1. Thank you.